Josh Heupel, the Tennessee Vols football program, scheduled to host 15 visitors this weekend. 3 5s, 9 4s, 3 3s, depending on the publication that you look at. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Make sure you hit the like, the share. And if you're a return listener, first time listener, you like the content, hit that subscribe button as well. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel. Talk football, baseball, basketball, and Lady Vols sports as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. But let's get into this weekend. It's a big one for the Tennessee Vols football team, for Josh Heupel, for this program and this recruiting classes. Now we know that kind of with the shift in calendars now, June is your big month. That is the big month. A lot of you old school recruiting guys, used to it was your big visit weekends during the season. Like, for example, last year it would have been Florida and Alabama weekend. This year it'll be Georgia and probably Oklahoma, just based on it ahead of time. Now those are still big visits, but they use them more for future classes than they do current classes. They still use them to an extent. Don't get me wrong on that, but it just doesn't. All of your big officials are now happening in June. You get the month of June in, and then it's dead period in July. Tennessee had a big weekend last weekend. Off the top of my head, Darius Gray, Joel Wyatt, just a couple. There were more. It was a big weekend. Lots of prospects. Of course, they did get the commitment last weekend as well from KJ McClain, safety out of New Jersey. This weekend, it's headlined by Faison Brandon, of course, is in town, been committed for a while. Not coincidental, I don't think, that he's in town, because it's headlined other than that by 5-star wide receiver Tristan Keys out of Mississippi. And depending on the publication you look at, 5-star defensive end Tristan Givens out of Columbus, Georgia as well, among others. That's your big ones off the top of the head. And I'll start with Keys because it's believed could be on flip watch here. Committed to LSU a while back. That one kind of caught some people off guard because throughout different points, based on what you read, Tennessee seemed to be in really good position. Goes to LSU, commits to LSU. Obviously, that one's not over. Tennessee's not giving up. Based on what I've read, Kelsey Pope's been really hard on that one. He stayed on it. They get their chance this weekend. Brandon coming to town. Again, I don't think it's coincidental the way it works out, because Brandon next weekend will be at the Elite 11 in California. So he wouldn't be able to make it next weekend. You got Keys lined up for this weekend. Now, it's not the last visit. Don't get me wrong on that one. I'm one of those. I like to get the last visit if possible. But at the same time, you got to get them in when you get them in. Keys, to me, Keys and Savion Hyder's the big two offensively right now that you really want to close the door on. That's your game changers at positions, especially wide receiver. You need all the weapons you can get. And I still think at running back, they're not, they'll lose the Duke transfer star Thomas this year, barring no one transfers. You've got to add talent there. A guy like Hyder, who will be at the end of the month, will be a big visit. And the fact he's been here numerous times, Tennessee's in the thick of that one. And, they've got to close it. The big question with this staff, and we saw it last summer, it's one thing to get to guys' campus. It's one thing to knock it out of the park. Can you get it across the finish line? Though they got some of them across the finish line last year, really the last 2 years, but there's numerous recruitments they didn't close as well. They got to get these in and not only knock them out of the park, they've got to get to the finish line as well. Keys, again, is the big one this weekend. Make an impression, knock it out of the park, but then you got to close it. And, of course, something, you have to keep in mind this day and age, NIL money is going to come into the equation as well. Tennessee's not short on NIL money. They're not short on it. You're not getting, the David Sanders Jr. recruitment. I'm not saying he was all about NIL by any means. That was a big boy recruitment. You've got to pay the money in that as well. Anytime you get those type prospects, you're not getting them for free. All right. They're not coming just out of the goodness of their heart now, or just because they like it. Yeah, they'll come because they like the school, because of the relationships, the new day and age. So NIL is a part of it. And that's where we're at. Depending on the publication of Keys, 5-star in numerous publications. Of course, Brandon's a 5-star. And pretty much all of them. On3 has him 33rd overall and a 4-star. On3 has Keys as a 4-star as well. They're a little bullish on it. The rest of them have them 5 stars. The industry ranking for On3, which combines them all, you get your average out of it, has them 5 stars. Givens, according to 24/7, is a 5-star. It's a big one as well this weekend. And based on what I've read, seems to be a Tennessee-Texas A&M battle. He did visit Washington recently. So can Tennessee, and based on what I've read too, Tennessee has the longer relationship. We know Texas A&M is not afraid to spend money. So and again, I'm not suggesting that these guys are just in it for the money. I'm not at all. And but at the same time, it is a part of it. It is a part of it. Can Tennessee get Givens across the finish line based on a relationship and where they're at? Again, that's your 3 5s. Now you've got 9 guys who, according to one publication or another, are 4 stars. And they've got a few guys on campus this weekend they're trying to flip. Keys is one of them. Zion Gibson, defensive back out of Alabama, based on what I've read here, based on what Austin Price, Matt Ray, VolQuest.com have talked about with him. They think Tennessee has a shot to flip him. Now, they've stayed on him hard. They've got his attention. And, he's been to Knoxville numerous times and likes the staff. So they seem to think Tennessee has a shot. They're not by any means saying they'll get him, but they have a shot here. Keys, of course, is a flip candidate this weekend. And, the thing about with Keys, it does say him and Brandon seem to have a really good relationship here as well. Givens, again, Coach Chop is on that one. And to me right now, your best recruiter on staff is Coach Chop. So if you want to get this one across, put Coach Chop on it. That's our ace recruiter right now. Funny thing to me about these classes, and I've talked about it, how you can get such a drastic difference in the classes. On3 has Tennessee the 12th rated class overall. 24/7 has them 31st overall because they have Faison, Brandon, Gabriel, Osenda as both 5 stars on 24/7. They have the rest of the class as 3 stars. On3 has Brandon as a 5. They have 4 guys as 4 stars, 4 guys as 3 stars. So it's pretty interesting to see some of your drastic differences, especially Osenda. He's a 5-star on 24/7, a 3-star on 3. Now, talk about Gibson. Chris Stewart's a guy committed to Texas, wide receiver who'll be in town this weekend. Can Tennessee make an impression on him? You've got numerous offensive linemen coming in. The guy that stands out to me that they've been in on a while, William Inge has been on him, is TJ White. He's a linebacker out of Mississippi. Tennessee's hit Mississippi pretty hard right now with White, with Tristan Keys in there. You've got J.B. Shabazz as an offensive lineman out of Charlotte. You've got numerous defensive linemen in town this weekend. You've got a few in-state guys. You've got Zach Groves, who is a Tennessee commitment in town. So, some other guys that stands out to me. Another Mississippi guy is Darion Albert. So he's a defensive lineman that'll be in as well. So, there's some good talent in Mississippi. Tennessee's trying to make waves there. Again, they have numerous guys who are in-state in town this weekend. It's just a big weekend overall for them. And, nothing bigger to me than, Gibson's the big one that you're trying to flip from Alabama. But the big two to me would be Keys and Givens. Can you knock those out of the park? Can you then get across the finish line? Can you get through June as well? Most of your bigger prospects will not just pull the trigger. I think I don't know. If a guy pulls it right out of the weekend and says, I'm still visiting, I take it with a grain of salt now. I just do. And, even you never know. Like last year with Sanders, solid, all of a sudden visit to Ohio State and have to sweat that one out. Really, when a guy is solid is when they're signed on the dotted line. It's recruiting. Anything can change. Teams don't give up. Teams do what they can, especially with the elite prospects, to get them across the line. There's going to be lots of twists, lots of turns that you guys know along the way, but it's a huge month. It's a big weekend for Josh Heupel and this program. And again, the thing that fans, and I think have rightfully asked the last couple of years is, yeah, it's great. We're hearing being mentioned in these big boy recruiting battles. Can Tennessee get them across the finish line? While there's been great pickups, there's been big misses as well that just couldn't get it across. Can this staff close the deal on guys like Keys, Givens, Savion Hyder in a couple of weeks, just to name a few off the top of my head? Darius Gray, who come out of the weekend, and Steve Wilfong, based on what I've read, seem to think Tennessee leads or led for Gray coming out of the weekend. Can you get it across the finish line? No, that's what I keep saying, I know, but that's the big thing on it. Sounds great if you're named the leader at one point. Means nothing, though, if you can't finish. Going to be on recruiting as much as possible right now. I'm kind of getting to that point where I can start to do a lot more content where I'm at. Baseball portal, on that as much as possible, though. Just passing along what I get. Had a video earlier. Tennessee did have 4 guys hit the portal this morning, 7 total. I talked about that. Guys are bringing in. Keep you updated on that along the way. Make sure you hit the like, the share, the subscribe. Check out the links in the description. Channel memberships, channel Patreon, super thanks, bottom right corner. Greatly appreciated as well. But this is Frank, the House of Orange, and I'll see you when I see you.